Good afternoon, and thanks to Rick and Chantel especially for organising this to let us give you an update on the Worksmart Dynamics program. My name's Hodkinson. I'm the Head of Procurement here at Uniting, and I've got Anuj Verma here with me as well. He's leading the Change and Communications team, and hopefully between the two of us we'll be able to answer any questions that you may have that come up during the discussion. We'll just try and screen through. Okay. So, well, my personal focus as Head of Procurement is obviously on the procure to pay and component and how we raise purchase orders and purchase requisitions in Uniting. Today I represent the project team and want to give you an update on the bigger picture Worksmart Dynamics program that's happening here in Uniting, which is a massive project and a critical one for the business. Yeah, one of the key messages we want to have you guys take out of the session today is that Worksmart Dynamics is more than just the replacement for Basware, which is our current purchasing system, and some of you guys may have experience with Basware, and it's more than just the replacement of our financial system, our current financial system, which is AX 2009. Worksmart Dynamics is the name for the project, which is integrating our complete set of back office systems and applications over time, and it's based on the Microsoft Dynamics D365 platform. You know, it's more than, like I said, it's more than just Basware replacement or AX replacement. It's a whole new architecture and a cloud-based platform that's going to be the base of our IT infrastructure and IT systems going forward here at Uniting for a long, long time. You know, obviously procurement, which is the Basware part of it, and finance, which is AX 2009. They're just the first of many applications that will be being replaced and upgraded as part of this program. Some of you may have had experience or exposure to the changes that are coming in the CRM environment. CRM platform is also migrating to D365. So when we talk about why do we need this change, so I guess that's just a bit of background. Why do we need the change? We did have a burning platform here in Uniting with the current Basware system and our current version of AX 2009 going end of life. And so rather than just upgrade those systems to the newer versions of those environments, what we've done is the IT, when I say we, the program, the business, have decided to drive a whole new architecture and strategy into the environment. And so what's really happening, and like I said, so rather than a piecemeal approach to upgrading our current applications to newer versions, we're taking integrated systems approach that will drive simplicity and drive information flow across the systems that will hopefully make things easier to do business. Over time, we'll be migrating more and more applications to the Dynamics 365 environment, and we'll talk a little bit about that more later. But in this initial phase, it's really the finance team and requisitioners, people that will utilise the currently used Basware that's being replaced by D365, will be the users impacted by this change or have exposure to the change initially. Chantel's one of those people. But over time, more and more of our business Uniting people will have exposure to the system. And from a timeline perspective, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a later slide, but we are planning to go live. Everything is on track for a go live the first week of November. So, as I've mentioned, the project is more than just upgrading existing applications. And as we migrate to a whole new architecture model in our IT systems, what the fundamentals of the approach that the project team is taking, and not just the procurement team and not just finance, but the whole business team, is how can we make our IT systems more seamless, more integrated, and make it easier for all of our staff to do what they do, and thus being able to focus more on their core business rather than, I'll say, back office administrative tasks. And whether that's a frontline person in the field or in the corporate office for that matter, raising a purchase requisition, whether that's enabling a manager in the field or again in the office able to review and approve those applications online through a mobile app on his phone, his or her phone, or whether it's the leadership team having access to better reportings, better integrated reports that link more of our data elements. It's all about really making it easier for our staff to do what they do. Again, I've spoken a couple of these benefits already, and more benefits will come as more systems migrate to the Dynamics platform. But just to chat about a few, the requisitioner example I gave you at a high level, through the testing and training we've done so far, and Chantel's been part of that, what we've found is that by having the procurement system integrate with the HR data, integrate with the finance system, and taking advantage of the new Dynamics system, which is much richer in functionality than the old Basware system, what we're finding is it is quicker and simpler for people to raise a requisition. More data defaults, cost center information defaults from your user ID, your manager defaults from your employee record. And so it basically becomes 5 or 6 data elements that people have to use to raise a requisition. And so we're finding it's taking sort of 2 minutes or a little bit less to raise a requisition now. We're also implementing buyer reviews, so that's another one of the benefits which we don't currently have, in which certain orders, whether it's over a certain order value or certain categories that we might have that might be high-risk categories, or orders for certain suppliers that we might be either having a problem with or whatever, we can now again use functionality that those orders get routed to a procurement buyer for some oversight or checking before they get released to the supplier. Again, I talked about the forecasting and reporting, so that again an integrated system that integrates all of these elements. And again, over time, as we start implementing initiatives like project accounting, having forecasts integrated into the system rather than just in spreadsheets somewhere, having better reporting and forecasting tools that allows managers and leaders to understand really where they're at within their how their budgets are going, where are they at within their forecasts, what's their outlook for the coming month. We're actually really excited about some of the benefits that are coming out of this. And again, probably a really simple one, but is allowing managers to approve requisitions via an application on their phone. Maybe we're in the train on the way home or wherever it is. If it's an urgent requisition, it's a very function-rich system as well on the phone. And over time, hopefully, we're hoping that we can set it up so that people can actually place orders through an application on their mobile device. So lots of benefits, we think, coming as part of this initial release. But again, the bigger picture plan, as we start migrating potentially some of our HR applications into this environment, like I said, project forecasting and accounting, CRM coming into this environment, it really starts stacking up as a very function-rich environment for our business to use. If we talk about the key changes to be aware of, and some of these are less maybe changes than what we've got today and more reinforcing best practice, which we currently have in places today across Uniting, but maybe not consistently. One of the key messages we're driving out of this change is this concept of no purchase order, no pay. And for lots of reasons, whether it's compliance, but also protecting Uniting's legal interests and commercial interests, we want to have purchase orders in place prior to work commencing with suppliers. We have that in place today in some areas, but it's a little bit hit and miss, and we really need to drive more consistency. So that's a key message we're driving through the communications and the training. We currently do have three-way matching prior to invoice processing today, but again, it's a little bit hit and miss, and it's not always possible. You know, when we have urgent orders and something we need to do in a particular area of the business, you know, we can't always have a purchase order in place, and we can't always do a three-way match receipt before the invoice has to get paid. And we know that's the case, but we need to get better at it, and we need to treat them as exceptions rather than a little, like we've got today, probably a little bit more the common process across Uniting. We will have simplified requisition process. I talked about that, which is coming in. So again, through the training and the change management, we will be reinforcing the message how simple it is to raise requisitions, which will hopefully support the message that it's just as easy to raise a requisition beforehand than process an invoice at the back end. So that's, I guess, another key part of the message we're doing. I already mentioned the buyer review for compliance, and again, we think most orders above 20,000 will go for buyer review, and if it's against a non-contracted supplier, part of our process will be to try and ring up that supplier and get better value. What can we do? Can we reduce our price with those uncontracted suppliers? And again, as part of that buyer review, if an order comes through for a goods or service where we do have a contract with an existing supplier, we'll call the requisitioner and ask them, you know, can we switch the order from supplier A to supplier B, because supplier B is under contract with Uniting, will potentially give us better pricing, better terms and conditions, and help us drive value for Uniting. So that's something we haven't been able to do before in the current environment. So that's probably a key change. Again, most requisitioners, most people won't know that that's happening, won't see it. It'll be completely invisible to them, but it's something we're doing. Another key change is how we deal with our suppliers and holding them to account for their role in the process. You know, as part of the D365 environment and Worksmart Dynamics, purchase orders will go out automatically to every supplier for every purchase order that gets released. So we'll be sending communications to our suppliers to let them know to be ready for this change. So we've already sent one communications to every one of our suppliers. We're drafting another set of communications with Anuja's team at the moment that will go to every supplier probably by the end of next week. And then we'll send one out just as we go live. But the message is to our suppliers that our expectation of them is that they will not start work, again, unless it's an emergency, without a valid purchase order in place. Because if they can then quote that purchase order on their invoice, all of the back-end processing that happens with this advanced functionality in a smarter system with scan and capture and processing will streamline the process significantly. But it's all fundamentally based on the assumption that we can get a purchase order to the supplier before they start the work. And so we'll be, again, setting the expectation with them and asking them to help us with that message, that if they don't have a purchase order, that they shouldn't be starting work. Some key call-outs, I guess, you know, and things that you need to know in preparation for our go live, again, which we're expecting is probably going to be November 5 or 6, is that the system will be down. Both the finance and the purchasing system will be down for about a week before we go live. So again, communications will come out to all the business stakeholders around that. In some parts of the business, it will potentially mean maybe ordering some stock beforehand, before the system goes down, so that we can, we don't run out of things. It should only be a week, so most corporate offices and it shouldn't matter too much. But obviously, in our residential facilities, we want to make sure that we have enough, potentially continence products, wound care, nutrition, stuff ready to go. So again, we will have an emergency process during that time, but the system, people need to know, again, part of this comms that we want to share with you right now is the system will be down for about a week before we go live. On a positive note, all existing purchase orders, so it's not like we're scrapping the current system and having to start everything again. We are shutting down the current system, but as part of the transition is all existing purchase orders that people across the business have, and their remaining balances will be transitioned to the new D365 environment for go live. So, you know, invoices that come in will be able to be processed and paid against those existing purchase orders, and the purchase order numbers won't change. So that, you know, there should be minimal confusion for our suppliers and for our requisitioners across the business. And again, the changes after go live I've mentioned around no PO, no pay. And there will be no change in the current, for the November release, around there's no changes to our HR platforms or HR environments. Again, potentially down the track, we know the project teams are looking at what we do with our HR platforms, but for go live, there is absolutely no change to those processes. So bringing the system to life, you know, I'll talk about the time frame shortly, but you know, we're currently in the second stage of user acceptance testing. Again, Chantel was gracious enough to help us with that. But where we're at today is we've had about 500 test orders processed by some 35 users across the business. All areas of the business have participated in our user acceptance testing. We're trying to keep users and managers advised of where we're at again, so you'll start seeing more comms. These roadshows are obviously part of that. And we will have a strong communications and training plan in place, which I'll share with you guys in a minute, to help us manage this change. Because we want to make sure that we do this well and we get the right outcome for the business. So how, as a project team, we're supporting the business. Again, here today, you know, we're getting through these types of awareness sessions. We're getting to all the teams across the business. We've done, you know, maybe 10 of these so far. We've got a few to go, but we're getting out to as many teams as we can, just to let them know around Worksmart Dynamics. So that's not just a replacement for Basware. It's a bigger picture play for Uniting, and one that's Uniting is spending a lot of money to do and ensure is successful. We've identified and set up key users across the business. Again, many of them have been helping us involved in the UAT, the acceptance testing. Many were involved in our design phasing, you know, starting as early as 12 months ago. From a training perspective, we're essentially giving every user the opportunity to attend a face-to-face training session. We know that doesn't work for everybody, and there will be some, let's say, very remote locations where we won't be able to get to everybody. But we're really targeting 95%, 98% of users will have the opportunity to attend a face-to-face training session. But supporting that will be a number of online webinar training sessions, and a number of those webinar training sessions will be recorded for users to be able to play back at their own convenience. So that's a big play for us. We'll be running some 40 training sessions across all New South Wales over the next 5 weeks, with the first session starting next week. Again, from our comms, you know, the team has developed a very solid communication strategy. Again, this is just part of it, and that will ramp up now that we know we are going live. We've had that challenge where until we completed user acceptance testing, we had a lot of faith in the system, but we really didn't know that we were going live. But so far, we've got another round of UAT to go, but so far the feedback has been exceptionally good. We haven't really had any major issues come out of UAT, and so everyone's now gearing up for go live. Supporting the teams as we go through, that's a big part of that. And then again, post-live, go-live communication support. We will have the trainers that we've got across the business. So there'll be 10 trainers from within the business on the procurement aspect of the system. They will be out on the road post-go-live at all of our large facilities, supporting users on any additional training questions that they might have, helping them raise their first purchase requisitions. We'll also have, again, a sort of a 1-800 hotline for users. We can use, again, things like these webinars and sharing screens through the systems like Sync and Link to help users raise requisitions post go live. From a timing perspective, this is where we're at. It's been a long journey. Again, this started over 12 months ago. We're currently in the middle of testing, user acceptance testing, with phase 1 complete, phase 2 starting next week. Training on the initial system is kicking off next week. Like I said, it'll go for 5 weeks. And really, everyone focus on this, first week of November go live for the first modules, and then subsequent to that, those business stakeholders will obviously work with all of the business users to as more applications and more functionality comes into the Worksmart Dynamics environment. Your role perspective, I guess, as leaders and users of the system, what we're trying to I guess, through these sessions is get people to help be aware of what's happening and request your support for your people within your business to support them through the change. Encouraging them to get to the training sessions, I think, is key. Again, the system's not hard, but and also when I say the system, the procurement system's not hard, but as other systems get deployed, again, encouraging your staff and your peers to get to those training sessions, I think, is key, because we want it to be a success. We'd like everyone on the call to be an advocate for the change that's coming in the systems and in the process. And again, the flip side of that is we don't want people necessarily to also be drinking the Kool-Aid and think that there won't be challenges, that there won't be issues as these applications and these changes go live. But again, we need to stay positive with those changes and tell us, share with us through the communication feedback channels, and there's one main one, which I'll share with you in a minute. But tell us what's happening. If there's a problem with the system, if someone's not got access, encourage them to flag with us, because if we don't know about it, we can't fix it. And unfortunately, if someone's experiencing a problem, there might be multiple users experiencing a problem. We need to nail these things on your head. So, as senior people within the business, and I guess a team that has a lot of reach within the business, we're really looking to your team again to help spread that word and be advocates for this change that's coming and uniting. I mentioned the key method to providing feedback. We will be publishing the set of key users and the business stakeholders, but fundamentally, that we have this Worksmart Dynamics at uniting.org email that will be manned by the team, and we'll have very speedy response, i.e. within sort of half an hour. Most of the time, we're expecting we'll be able to provide feedback, especially in those first couple of months post go live. We'll be jumping on that to address any issues that come out. Again, encourage your team to reach out if they're unsure or confused about something or need a bit of extra training. We will have, like I said, 10 people out and about across the state for a few weeks post go live to support your teams in that activity. So that is the deck. I know I've gone through that relatively quickly. We know everybody's busy. We're trying to process these sessions in about 30-35 minutes. I'd like to, at this stage, open it up for any questions that anyone may have. And if there's no immediate questions, Anuja and myself will be available after the call for a catch-up if anybody wants to call us directly about anything that we talked about today. So I guess at this point, thank you for your time, and open it up for any questions that you might have.